When you're sculpting, you kind of want to get into the mode. You don't want to be opening up the interface and doing this and doing that. You really want to get in there and just start flying. And that requires you to set up hotkeys. So one thing you'll notice, I've got hotkeys already set up. So I press 1, standard brush, 2, move brush. Remember, I'm looking up here. So keep your eye up in this top corner. And then 3 is clay, 4 is trim dynamic, 5 is clay buildup. So how do you establish those hotkeys yourself? Let's go into the brush palette and just grab this to send it over to the tray. The first thing you need to know is that the brush has got to be here. They've got to be within this. So trim dynamic, Damien, move, standard, they're all there ready for me. And they're there because I actually activated them. I touched them. I switched over to them. So I can press R to remove all but the primary ones, and then I can come in and say just click move brush and it adds it. Standard is added. Trim adaptive is added. Trim dynamic is added. So if the brush is not visible, you have to go in, click it, and make it visible here. Then you press Control and Alt and you click it. Okay, don't move your cursor around like I did. Just Control, Alt, click, and then press the key. So I'm pressing 5. Okay, that's the hotkey it was already set up to, but in your case it'll be as you wish. So let's do blob. That's one I don't have assigned. Control, Alt, click, and then I'm going to press 7. And now the 7 key is set up to assign the blob. So I can go into Move Brush, Standard Brush for 1, 2 for Move, 7 for Blob. Control Alt, click the interface item, press the key on the keyboard. Then you have to save it. So you go Preference, Hotkeys, and Store. Have to store it. Okay, you can save it, and if you save it, then you can load it. But if you want it to be something that is always there, that's a store. Has to be at the basic level. Load and save is just if, for example, you're going to have hotkeys for painting, and so you load those hotkeys in for painting. Or you have a script that loads an interface for painting and then loads a hotkey for painting as well. Something like that might work. But 9 times out of 10 you're going to use store. Alright, now let me show you what these hotkeys look like. Let's look in Windows Explorer. And if you go to Program Files, Pixelogic, ZBrush4R2, ZStartup Hotkeys folder, you'll get it. It's a lot, but basically you're in the Pixelogic folder, you're going to the ZStartup folder, and you're going to Hotkeys. And then if I open up the text file, you can see ZScript language, which is basically assigning each button to what's called an ASCII code. So 4399203 is the ASCII code for pop-up plus C. Okay, I've got the snake hook brush assigned to ASCII code 54, which is 6 on the keyboard. This is all already done. ZBrush does this for you using the process that I just showed. But this file is something that you can copy and move from one machine to another, so you always have your hotkeys with you. That just makes life a little bit easier. Another element that people want to change is to adjust if ZBrush is taking up all of the screen space or not. By default it takes up all the screen space, and I've got it working on a second monitor, so I don't actually even have the Windows stuff either along the side or the bottom. But basically if you're going to change the size of it, what you do is you just click the image up, the little minimize maximize, okay, and then you just drag this around till you get it where you need it to be. And once you've got it positioned where you want it to be, then you go into Preference and you go to Interface, not Interface, sorry. You go to Preference, Config, Store Config.